Well,
go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead, bro. No, you go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I did have a small thing that I was reading this week, but it has nothing to do with the subject you brought. So if you want to talk, you can, I mean, I'll give you the priority. Then Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Dr. Suhail, I was mentioning to Brother Muhammad, but mainly for the group as well. I was just saying, like, I attended on Friday one of the Hiwar's meetings, and it was relative somehow to the education system and the issues in the education system. And it was mainly talking about like how the influence of Israelis in the West Bank, for example, or as part of it, as one side of it, and the second side was the influence of the same Zionist movement and Zionism in the education of the kids in the U.S. and changing in the history and history books, and mainly focused on the Virginia. And I was sharing that with everyone. Maybe they can try to see the video or the recording of that meeting, because I really think it was. It had a lot of information to offer to me. I learned a lot from it. But in the meantime, is relative to what we were talking about in the last week or a couple of weeks in here. I really think it supports somehow what I personally tried to relate last week, which is more like to be involved with the local government, education system, the education of our kids in here, the books that they read. But in the meantime, not to focus and get the support only from the mosque, or to start the initiative as it's a mosque or a mosque issue or initiative, but started from outside to gain more support. It's good to have the mosque in your side or the community mosques in your side, but to start this as part of a issue and the general issue, I feel like it's more important, because you will gather, because we are a small community and the mosque is like 1% or whatever we present in the country. It's not going to be as influential to play this or to be to put this as a mosque group, but to involve others with it, people who are non-Muslims, who come from the region, or people who care about learning the truth. And this issue is like, I believe that this issue has been going on for years, and we are late into the game, and that's why we need as much of a support as we need, as we can get to support these kind of initiatives. That's all what I started talking about. So thank you.
Jazakallah khair. Brother Muhammad, do you want to say something?
Yes, actually, my subject was a little bit different, but I was reading about Al-Biruni, and Al-Biruni lived, he died in 1070 something AD, and what the interesting point was, Al-Biruni wanted to talk about, he wanted to see what's the Indian people believe. So he decided to go there, not just write anything, or take the people talk about it. So he went there and he met with the real scholars, and he read from the books. And after all that search, he found their beliefs in their books, it's very similar to what we have in Islam. And he thought maybe there is some prophets that was sent there, but we don't know about. And because Quran said that some prophets we don't know. Anyway, but he said the other beliefs that we know about, that was like changes from the books, from the original books. And there is, of course, there is a obligation, jabr, there is tashbih, and making Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala similar to people, or tajseem, I don't know, or embodiation or something. And we have the same thing. I mean, if you look at Islamic original pure belief, it's in the books, in the Quran, and maybe in the first scholars of Islam. But then you will have the issue of jabr, obligation, where people has no right or no choice. The issue of choice that came after the battles, the original, I mean, the first battles like Siffin and Jamal. So this story or this narration can happen in every religion, in Islam, in India, and something. But the thing is, sometimes we look at other people with down grading, look at them as they are not equal to us. And this is another issue. That's another sickness. I mean, if you think you are the chosen or you are the best, and others are nothing, they are worshiping cows or something, without going deep and looking into the real belief and how it was transformed, I think that's the real, or that's the attribute that we should have, to be fair with others and look at them with respect. That's what I wanted to say. I mean, I recommend to read about Al-Bayruni. He's one of the biggest scholars in Islamic history.
Jazakallah khair. Yani two different subjects. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalam ala rasulullah, ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Now let's start with the first topic. It's a big one actually, because it has many dimensions. First of all, we should be aware that people, even if we don't know the details, but there are many groups who have agendas, and they're pushing those agendas, and we should not blame them. This is an open field for civic engagement, for tadafa, and you cannot, if you're not doing your job, you cannot blame others for doing their job or for taking advantage of that. So even without knowing the details, but for sure in this very open society, so many groups are pushing so many agendas, and probably this sunnah of tadafa, which is that Quran mentioned a couple of times, لولا دفع الله الناس بعضهم ببعض لفسدت الأرض, in one verse, and ولولا دفع الله الناس بعضهم ببعض لهدمت صوامع وبيع وصلوات ومساجد يذكر فيها اسم الله كثيرا. So it was clear that if it is not for people pushing, or at least the meaning, of course, from the Quran, if it is not for the good people, if the good people don't advocate their agendas, then there will be a lot of injustice and a lot of mischief on earth. So bottom line is, it's at the heart of the mission of Islam to be civically engaged. It's not luxury. It's not something we do for like ceremonial. It's the essence of the mission of Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar, is to be civically engaged. And civic engagement is much bigger than political involvement. And political involvement is much bigger than participating in election. Civic engagement is mindset. It's that you think and behave as a citizen who is a stakeholder and who has a say in what's going on, from the education of your children to anything that is happening to any other level of policy. Unfortunately, from Muslim perspective, we're still way behind. We're still focusing more on election. and focusing more on getting some Muslims to be elected, and thinking that's it's not, it still did not sink to become like every day's something that we think about it and we do it every day. So it has, that mindset has to change. And even when we are civically engagement, we should not think like minority. We should not think if this is okay for other minorities, it's not okay for Muslims, for the Muslim community. It's not okay to think as minority, and it's not okay to think as victimized minority, that we are involved in politics to see what can we get, because we have a mission bigger than ourselves. Now, we are a community that was sent to humanity. So it's okay maybe for other community or minority to be worried about their own rights and what they can get from government. It's not okay for Muslims. Muslims should have the greater good in their mind, and should echo the statement that was mentioned by one of the companions when he stood in front of the king, the Persian king, and said that Allah sent us, إن الله ابتعثنا لنخرج الناس من عبادة العباد إلى عبادة رب العباد ومن جور الأديان إلى عدل الإسلام ومن ضيق الدنيا إلى ساعة الدنيا والآخرة. And we are, when he asked them, what are you looking for? He did not ask for something for themselves. He said, we are on a mission to like save or salvage humanity, etc. So, and I've been saying this for many, many years, that we should revisit the way our approach to civic engagement from occasional, we remember it only when there is an election, and from minority mindset, that we are there to see what can we get as Muslim community, and how many Muslims we can get in Congress or in local government or any local assembly or state assembly. But we should approach as we are people who want to make this country better for everybody. We should be we should not look for quick results or big results. Things comes incremental. You start by yourself to do what you need to do, which is, as we said, at least to be involved in the education of your children. So your job should not be just to drop your child in the school or to give to the school bus and then receive them later or pick them up later. But it should be to know what's going on, what are the rights of the parents, and what your children is being taught, etc. So it's no surprise that there are many other groups. I mean, this idea of homosexuality being pushed in the education system, there are groups behind it. I mean, everything that is happening, there are people who are pushing it. So we cannot complain and we cannot blame others. We just have to do our job. And if we do it, you're right, Brother Muhammad. Also has been, I've been mentioning this for many years, that if you want to succeed in civic engagement, your the cause or the issue has to be framed in a mainstream language. And you should be ready to join hands with others. This idea of working in a coalition, because there is hardly anything that can succeed in this country except there is a coalition behind it. Because one group by itself will not be able to push any agenda. So we should be ready to be involved, first of all, not only on the issues that affect us directly, because for a long time, Muslims will be involved only and worried only about either immigration issues, civil rights issue, things like this. That's not true. That's not appropriate, because if you do that, then you will not succeed in building coalition. Because if you are not involved in issues that affect others, others will not be involved in issues that affect you. If first of all, we should approach from a Islamic perspective that our job is islah, betterment, making things better. And therefore we should be, any issues, any debate, any issue that is being debated, we should take a look at it, see what Islam has to say about it, take that position or that stand, frame it in a mainstream language. You cannot go out and say, Wallah, now we are against the gambling because it's haram or it's munkar. It's not going to work. Frame it in a mainstream language and get into the field and find partners and allies so that you can get the job done. And believe it or not, first of all, there is hardly any issue that is there that Islam doesn't have something to say about it. So we are in a position to be involved almost in every issue. We just have to prioritize. And also we are at the position to build coalition with so many people that maybe even enemies or opponents of one another. That are on family values, we find allies on the right. On liberties issues, we find allies on the left, and you name it. There is hardly any issue in this country that we should not be involved in, and we should be involved the right way. And then we are in a great position to build coalitions with almost everybody because of so many issues that Islam has something to say about them. But we're not doing that. We're doing it the wrong way. We're still thinking as a minority or victimized minority. We are still thinking about civic engagement as a luxury, something that we do ceremonial, photo op. Unfortunately, I have to say this. There are some activists or quote-unquote leaders, so-called leaders, who are involved this for the show. I mean, and by the way, the other side, they know this. The other side, they know that there are people who donate money and involved in these things for the prestige, for the individual prestige. I mean, it's very sad, yeah. It's very sad that we're repeating the same thing that is happening in many Muslim countries, that people or so-called leaders, they are thinking for their own prestige and their own career. Anyway, we're doing it the wrong way. Then we're going to stop thinking as minority. We want to be involved in all issues, not only the issues that affect us. I remember many years ago, more than 20 years ago, when we were involved in there is the governor of Maryland wants to expand gambling, and we wanted to be involved in this. And when we went to different mosques in Jumu'ah, you can see that people were very surprised. That's not a Muslim issue. Why should we be involved? Because they are used only when there is a fire. They're called to fight it. When there is a Muslim organization closed, a Muslim activist arrested, something like this, that's where they, or an international cause, but they were not used to this. So, and they said, by the way, gambling maysir is munkar, yani, if just to remind you. So anyway, so that's how I see it. We need to at least now for the first generation may be difficult to embody this, to think as a citizen and no more as a minority, and think as a Muslim who has a bigger mission to fulfill. And but at least we should do our best to help future generations to really think in a mainstream way and act as citizens, not as a member of minority. I mean, I always say, as Americans who happens to be Muslims, not as Muslims who happen to be in America. No, And that should reflect everywhere, should reflect in, so how, to what extent we're succeeding. And I'm afraid that sometimes we are causing problems to future generations because we are causing them some internal conflict and tension, and we are not allow them to just be themselves. Why? Because until now, many parents, they are still fighting the wrong fight, the wrong battle. They are fighting with children to raise them as Syrian or Palestinian or Pakistani or whatever. It's not going to work. I mean, you have children who are born and raised here, they're going to be American. There is nothing wrong with this. And you should not fight that fight. Yes, you have to remind them of their roots. And if you can, if you should link them to their roots, that it's like others, but they're going to be American in terms of thinking and behavior and etc. So the fight that you should focus on is to be Muslims. But they're not going to be like you. And they're not actually, not only it's a different culture, it's different age, different time. Even parents who are raising their children in a Muslim country, in the same country where they were raised themselves, where the parents were raised themselves, they're finding that, they're realizing that their children are not going to be like them. Yes, we all have that tendency that we want our children to be like us, but it's not going to work. So whatever happens with the first generation happens, but let's try to make sure that future generations, again, are fully integrated. And even the word assimilated, I know it has bad connotation because people, when they think about assimilation, they think about someone who abandoned religion. No, they can be assimilated while being very good Muslims. So it's not, in this country, that's possible. Maybe in other countries, no, but in this country, can be very good Muslim, but blend in. Basically, in the society, it's not, there is nothing noticeable about you. There is nothing different at work or etc. I mean, this is not to abandon your religion or to conceal your identity, no. But also, it's not, you're not expected to always say, no, I'm different than you, I'm somebody else. No, there is no need for that. That's what I have about the first topic. Civic engagement should be a daily thing, not ceremonial, not every 4 years or every 2 years or during the election. Should be done the right way and for the right purpose. The right way is to be involved in all the topics that or issues that affect citizens, affect the country, not only the ones that affect Muslims. To frame topics in a mainstream, and I've seen, and I've been part, I've seen rallies, like for Palestine, for example, rallies, they are done on Saturday or Sunday when nobody is in DC. And then you have banners in Arabic or chants in Arabic. That's the wrong way. I mean, and you're venting out anger. You're not conveying a message. You're not saying, you're not, I mean, so, and then the people who speak also, they speak as if they are in somewhere else, not here. When you talk to Americans and say that our brothers and sisters in Palestine, that means nothing. If you were not able to frame that this blind support, American support to Israel, is harmful for this country and harmful for this its citizen, nobody's going to listen. You're going to be talking to yourself, and you go out, you rally, you vent out your anger, and you go home. Yeah. So that's just one example.
If I can interfere here, Dr. Suhail,
Sure.
I think we need to pick our fight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the issue for Brother Nidal, this letter from school, I think it's very minor issue for our kids in the school. What's the problem? Let his kids know about this stuff. Sooner or later, they will know everything about it. I faced this problem 25 years ago. Right now, my daughter facing this problem. My daughter born here. She's thinking different way, the way I was thinking. I think we have more important issue about raising our kids than learning this stuff in school. Our kids, they are going without religion because we isolate our kids in school. We tell them, oh, you cannot attend this subject. Later on, they invited to, I don't know what they call it in the high school party or something, you know. We are not allowing our, especially daughters, to go to that. We are not allowing our daughters to participate in sports. Too many issues facing our generation, our kids, I mean, in this country. Why we are picking this? I think it's very small issue, minor issue. We need to find solution for our kids in the major part.
It's, I mean, issues there are for individuals, there is no minor issue. For individuals, they, it's the parents and they care about their children. So, and they should do what they can, what is, but for the community, you're right. And for the community, people probably have to prioritize because, again, there is hardly any issue that Islam doesn't have a stand or does not guide us to take a stand in it. Whether it is social justice, whether it is education, whether it is moral issues, family values, you name it. There is hardly any issue that where we don't have, we shouldn't be, that we say this is really outside our scope. Yeah. But as a community, we need to prioritize. But as parents, I mean, parents, they, all what we can say here is what Brother Nidal did or raised here. It's an important thing for parents, and they need to pursue it as part of their civic engagement, not just that by itself, and then get the community to be involved and see what are the best options, because it's not me or Brother Nidal or anybody who should be deciding these things. This is, we should learn to respect expertise. And we have, as I said before, you go to Islamic centers. Unfortunately, we don't have leaders in place. I mean, if I was in charge of an Islamic center from day one, if I get a call from Brother Nidal, I would have done the steps that I mentioned, that gather people who are in the field and the stakeholders and the parents and maybe the children, and then start the discussion, start the brainstorming to figure what's going on, to understand exactly what's going on, and to know what are the options. What options do we have, and select the best one and implement it, even if it takes time. But again, we don't have that in place. And we have managers who just managing the status quo. They are just keeping the center running, bills are paid, there is Jumu'ah, there are some activities running, and that's it. Yeah. So, but again, regardless, some issues may not be important for one of us, may be important for others. The bottom line is, as individuals, you need to do your part. And because this idea of the community is not doing, who is the community? You are the community. So you start yourself, you go to the school, I know it's annoying, might be frustrating that if they give you like a bunch of brochures or handbooks to read, or they refer you to their website. I know it might be frustrating and annoying, but that's how it gets done. First of all, educate yourself, understand what's going on, even if you're not an expert, and then consider what are the best options. And as Brother Abdullah said, expert might tell you, no, there is nothing wrong with this for your children, as long you bring them to the masjid, and we can tell them ahead of time or tell them in parallel the Islamic perspective. It's, I don't know but what I know is we have to forget about having superficial knowledge. Yeah, I know superficially what children are being taught, and they think some things are bad. That's very superficial, very shallow. We're not gonna get to the bottom of it. You go and take a few days, a couple of whatever, read about the education system, and read about the rights of the parents. And yes, it's not overnight. And we have to stop thinking about quick results. There are no quick results in anything. It's just, it takes time. And once you do your homework and you get that awareness or education of really what's going on and what, etc., then reach out to others who are in the same boat and see what can be done collectively. So what can be done individually, what can be done collectively as parents of children in that particular school. And then the next level, which is the community at large. And then there is even the next level, which is to join hands with other groups who may have the same concern and the same stand. I know, I mean, for a long time, and we were trained that anything that takes long time, we don't pursue it. Anything that is long term, we want something quick, and there is no such thing. So do your part and do your homework by educating yourself. Really have real awareness of what is being taught, what are your rights, etc., and then seek advice from experts who share with you the same values, like Muslim educator who are experts in curriculum development and etc. They can tell you, Muslim counselor, they can tell you that no, when you bring them the material, they will tell you that, for example, most of this material, there is nothing wrong with it. People are gonna come to know it anyway. I don't know what they're gonna say, but this is, we have to learn, be patient, learn to do our job, even if it is annoying or frustrating and takes time, and know to respect expertise, and forget about any immediate results or quick results, because there are none.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
This is Nidal again. I hope not. I'm not a troublemaker.
No, it's exactly the opposite. No.
Okay.
You raise very important issues, and you open this door that how every Muslim individual, they have responsibility to do. And then even for the community, you have to push it. There is no community outside of you that is going to do things. Yeah,
exactly. And one another update, when I reach out to, and I listened to what Brother Abu Abdullah said, and this is right, that it's a small thing, but sometimes for new parents, it's going to be an issue, because when I talk to the educator at Adams Center, he is the consultant, the counselor, and he told me that he himself said it's better not to let them take classes by the school. It's better that you educate yourself and you take care of that. And this is his advice. He's a guy who's a native English speaker, was born and lived in the US, and he has kids, as he told me. However, the issue is still, and I am back and forth with him. I told him that we need, as we talked last time, that we need to kind of curriculum or program for parents themselves to be skilled and equipped with some information about how to convey these information to kids, especially that he told me that we as parents need to talk to kids at the age of 12 about, he said it's very important, about LGBTQ. I have no excellent idea about that. I studied that in university. I'm taking classes kind of about critical theories and how to address LGBTQ. But the point is, I need someone to teach me first. What are the things that I need to tell my son about? I need to educate myself more about the LGBTQ. I need to read the most updated news about these things, because kids are they talk again, and they get information from internet. So what I would like to say is, it's on us as well. It's not only the school, not only the program, not only the mosque, the masjid. It's on us. Even if we will let them take the classes in the schools, we need to talk to them again, because as you said, Dr. Ghannouchi, we should not kind of delegate our responsibilities to others. It's our responsibilities. كلكم راعي وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. So we need to get involved the same way we get involved in our work, in our fixing our car, building our house, whatever. Our kids are more important, as you said, as everyone said, than these things. So I like the idea that we get involved and get more involved in educating, raising our kids, in addition to all other facilities or other programs as well.
And I call it building a child. You know, we're really building, because when you build a house or establish a business, we do a lot of planning, and we have a blueprint for that house. And then we have all the wishes. That's what we want this house to have, this and have that, etc. And then we go to the architect, and then the architect turned into a plan or a blueprint. And then there is a construction company or whatever, they're going to implement that, execute. We should do the same for our children, or even more. Should have like a vision for your child, a model that you are building, and they should learn to dream big for our children, and stop about this idea about just I should have good grades in school, and if they have some Quran and some Arabic, and then I'm happy with it. We should really have big dreams for our children, and instill those dreams early on in them, and then help them and mentor them to turn those dreams into realities. In addition, of course, dreams and the mission that you instill in your child, the sense of mission, which was really lost through the history of Muslims, has to be revived and has to be instilled. The biggest success, maybe, or the most important things that the Muslim parents can do with their children is, one, to get them to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and love him and establish very strong relationship with Allah, realizing that anything good that happens in their life is from Allah, etc. And really making them know Allah so much and love Allah so much, so that the worship becomes very natural for them. And then you can anchor everything. If you succeed in this step, then you can tell your child, this is something that Allah likes, this is something that Allah does not like, and your child will follow very easily with no problems. You don't have to police them anymore. And then this sense of mission, that they are not here to make a living, they are here to make a difference. That as Muslims, we have a big mission that we are entrusted with, etc. And then having very high aspirations for them. Or I start pumping this early on, and then so that they can really, realize all their potential and be all they can be. So it's really, Hillary Clinton said it takes a village. It takes more even than a village to raise a child. It's not an easy job. Now I just mentioned this last Jumu'ah, we're taking the two most critical jobs that a person can do, is to be a spouse and to be a parent. And we're taking them very lightly, and we're doing them without any preparation or training or anything, just like that. And unfortunately, we're continuing from one generation to another, same way. Families are established haphazardly, children are raised haphazardly. And we complain, or we are surprised that our situation does not change. It's not the school that raises the child, it's the parents. Schools, we need to, and the pyramid was turned upside down. We need to bring it back. It's the parents and the family who are raising the child, and the school complement the job, not the other way around. I mean, when it comes to principles and values and characters and manners, etc., that's primarily responsibility of the parents. And it does not end when you hand your child to the school, because for most parents, and I think we made series of khutbah on this, series of khutbah about the family and about raising children. Most parents until now, they don't distinguish between tarbiyah and ri'ayah. Ri'ayah means taking care of the needs of your children. That's what most parents are doing, buying them things, and so taking care of the needs. That's not tarbiyah. That's not the job of the parents. That doesn't end there. The tarbiyah is different. The tarbiyah has to do with the mind and the soul of your child. The ri'ayah has to do with the physical needs. And that's what all parents, they do it, and they do it happily. And some parents, they even go to the extreme and they spoil children. But the second part is missing. Until now, people don't know that your child comes as blank sheet of paper, and you are writing. You're going to be writing. So a lot of time when I'm invited to sometimes problems between parents and children, and when I sit down with the parents by themselves, they say, Yani, you're complaining about your child, but it's your product. And when you keep saying, well, like, my child is bad, and my child is this, and my child is that, and you are blaming yourself. Yani. Then whom are you complaining about? No, because he has bad friends. Like, why? Why he has bad friends? Because you did not offer good friends for him, so they have to find friends. They cannot live like you, totally isolated without friends. It's like, remember yourself when you were young, you had friends, you had neighbors, and you had friends, and etc. That's what they had, the way they're going to live here. So I'm gonna have to realize this is that it's a big job to build and run a family, and to have a child and raise children. It's a day in, day out work. It's quality time with your child. It's finding a way to instill values. Say, okay, I want my child to be honest and never lie. So how can I do that? How can I turn that into etc.? I want my child to be very much attached to Allah. Then how can what kind of things, actions, acts I can do to achieve this? That's what should be in the minds of the parents all the time. And then and you see the results, and you have only yourself to blame. A lot of scientific studies say that the child personality is largely finalized by the age of 6, by the age, I mean, different theories, but we're talking about very early on. Because what we don't realize is that children are very good observers. They don't talk, they don't tell you, but they can see things. They see your behavior, the behavior of the parents, and you cannot tell your children to do something different than what you do. You can only to tell them to do as you do. As I said, a lot of time, actually it's not a lot of time, the only way, the only efficient way to raise good children is for you to be their role model. You want a good relationship of your child with Allah, start with yourself. If you have it, it will be contagious. It will pass on easily. You want your child, good relationship for your child with the Quran. If you don't have it, then it's not going to pass on. And I always use it's really ridiculous example. Parents in many Muslim countries, they smoke, but they become so mad when their children smoke, and they punish them. And they keep laughing. I say, this poor child, I'm sure that's what they're gonna run in their mind. They say, if smoking is so bad, why you're doing it? And if it is okay, why you're punishing me? Just to tell you that how bad it can be that someone trying to get your child to do something that you're not doing, it's not going to work. That's why I keep saying that the prime job of every Muslim is to develop yourself into a role model and to try to perfect everything you do and every role of yours. And then you can see how your children, raising your children becomes so easy. So easy. Why? It's like the Prophet ﷺ. He kept telling his companions, do as you see me doing. That's the most efficient way. Not as you hear me talking, as you see me doing. So, I mean, to tell you to what extent our people are so ignorant. Alhamdulillah, maybe here, I don't know, maybe financial circumstances is preventing people from having many children, but in many Muslim countries until now, like 6 and 7 children every year. What are you doing? I mean, what are you doing? Why? Because until now, in their mind, it's not the tarbiyah. It's as long as I can buy them stuff, then I'm okay. I can have as many children as I want, because I have the money to buy them stuff. So it's a lot of things have to be changed, and it all starts with education, educating ourselves about our deen, educating ourselves about life, educating ourselves about our roles, being spouse at this time and age. I mean, the reason why we have that very high rate of failure of Muslim families, because families are established haphazardly. Until now, people who get married, they are not prepared. They are not prepared for marriage, and they didn't have enough knowledge about their partners, about the other sex, and then things end up in deep trouble. Raising children, it's still happening largely haphazardly. And alhamdulillah, sometimes it works, sometimes the damage is not big. Sometimes those haphazard methods bring some results, but we're gambling. We're taking a big risk. I mean, these two now, there are so much literature about them, about spousal relationship and about parenting, that it's not appropriate, especially for people who have a high level of education. It's not appropriate not to read, to do some basic reading and learn these things. So I don't know, sometimes I say there is so much to be done, but the main thing that we need to do is to break the vicious cycle. To break this vicious cycle that families are established haphazardly, they are raising children haphazardly, and these children will go and establish family haphazardly. That vicious cycle has to be broken. That's about marriage and family and raising children. When it comes to our deen, there is no if and then about it. The original deen that was preached by Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam was lost. Yes, we are not idol worshippers. Yes, I know that. But the original deen, the original faith that was preached by Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and that produced that great success stories, those great individuals, that great community is not there, is not here now. We have to find it, we have to rediscover it, and we have to revive it. And we have to take that journey sooner rather than later, because we're going nowhere without it. We're going nowhere without rediscovering our great, very inspiring, very empowering faith, and really go to the sources, because relying on the heritage, relying on Torah, relying on the books, and keeping them barriers between us and the text is one of the worst things that we have done. There are people at certain point in time, people put the hadith between them and the Quran. And then there are people came and do some interpretation of hadith, interpretation of Quran, and etc. And then now we have barriers between us and the hadith, and barriers between us and the Quran, two barriers. That has to be fixed. I mean, it's about time that we revive the same process that happened at the time of Rasulullah when the Sahaba used to go and study the Quran, understand it, and implement it. It's about time for us to embark on the study of the Quran and try to contextualize it in our reality so that we can produce success stories similar to the ones that happened in the early days of Islam. Now, if there is nothing more about this, we can address the second question. Brother Muhammad, all religions throughout the history took from one another. Even Islam, there are a lot of things from Christianity and from Judaism found their ways to Islam. They call them the Israeliyat. So I'm talking about not the Quran, talking the books, heritage books. It's not surprising. There might be prophets sent to different parts of the world, and there is hardly any religion on earth that you don't find some items that are similar to Islam. And there are some commonalities between almost all religion in the world. Yeah. So that shouldn't come as a big surprise in terms of religions taken from one another and interacting. I don't know, and I'm not an expert in this, but probably if we study the Buddhism, the Sikh religion, the whatever, you may find a lot of items that are in common. But for us, regardless, this idea of chosen people, we should fight it big time. We should not feel that way, and we should not, should always remember that there are no chosen people. There is a mission that Allah has assigned to humanities, or to whoever fulfilled that mission deserve that, becomes part of that community that is special. But it's not a particular religion or a particular ethnicity or particular race. It's not even particular religion. It's not like you say, I'm Muslim, so I'm part of the chosen people. No, you're not. That's one. The second is, this is something that we emphasized over and over again, is this idea of judgment. We really have to resist it big time. Let people believe the way they want and worship the way they want, and leave them between them and Allah. It's none of our business. None. They worship cow, they worship this, they worship that. It doesn't That's none of our business. نحن we have one relationship with everybody on earth, which is we are members of a family called humanity. All right, we belong to one pair of male and female. So we're brothers and sisters in humanity. One. Second, so we're human beings, and human beings are dignified. Now, you live in the same country, you are citizens, co-citizens. That's the relationship. So what's here? We have the constitution, the social contract, and the law that is governing us. You are in the same neighborhood, you are neighbors. You are in the same workplace, you are colleagues. That's it. That's all. This judgment hisab, إنما عليك البلاغ وعلينا الحساب. Exclusively, Allah is telling the Prophet that your job ends when you deliver the message. That's it. And that's for the Prophet. It's so many verses that keep emphasizing that it's not our job what people believe or what people worship. So what is our job? We abandoned our job and we are taking the job that Allah reserved for himself. What is your job? Your job is to be the best ambassador of Islam, to be the best representative, to develop yourself into a role model. One. Second, your job is to maximize your contribution to the greater good. We were just talking about civic engagement. Wherever you settle as an individual or a community, you try to make things better. Anything that is good, you promote it, you defend it, you reinforce it. Anything that is bad, you resist it, you work against it. And three, related to this is it's helping people around you becoming better people as you yourself working to be a better person every day. If you want Allah to be pleased with you, this is your job. This is your job. Working on your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, working on yourself to be a better person every day, helping people around you to be better people, and try to maximize your contribution to the greater good. And your job ends there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, believe me, will never ask you about this person, what they believe, what they worship, if you have done your job. If you have done your job. And if we do our job right, if we really are good ambassador of Islam and interact with people, not isolate ourselves, we will have that positive impact on people. We will work with them for the greater good. And sooner rather than later, you will have an opportunity to present your religion. Just be prepared to do it right. Just be prepared, educate yourself about your religion so that on one hand, you represent it the best way. On the other hand, when that opportunity comes, and it will come, when that opportunity comes and people will ask you about your religion, you're ready. You're ready because you are so knowledgeable, or you know your religion so well that you can articulate it in 30 seconds, in 1 minute, in 2 minutes, whatever the opportunity that comes. I mean, whatever opportunity you have. So let us focus on our job, the jobs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala assigned to us. And believe me, don't tell me this job is easy. I already, wallahi, we spend all our life. This is إن عرضنا الأمانة على السماوات والأرض والجبال فأبين أن يحملنها وأشفقن منها. It's a humongous task. We're talking even mountains, etc. They found it so heavy. It's a very heavy job, and it's gonna take all your time. There is no time to waste. I mean, if you're talking about knowing Allah and developing that strong relationship with Allah, knowing your religion, learning about life and the world in which you are living, and Allah has assigned you the task to manage it and develop it and make it better. And knowing about your roles, we were talking about being spouse and being parents, and then working on yourself. The self-development business is not easy. Getting rid of bad habits, acquiring good ones, and acquiring skills and resources, etc. To be, Allah loves a strong believer more than a weak believer. Interacting with people and being civically engaged. All of this is going to take all your time that is available for you, and you should not really worry at all about others. So you're right, Brother Muhammad. Religions take from each other, and there is, and also you're right that there are messengers that we were not told about. منهم من قصصنا عليك ومنهم من لم نقصص عليك. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that there are messengers, some of them we told you about them, addressing Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and some we did not. I mean, there is people put them at the thousands. I mean, hundreds of Rasul and thousands of Nabi, and so large numbers, and the Quran mentioned only few of them. So it might be that messengers were sent to different other parts of the world that we are not aware of, and part of that religion is left. But I think the biggest thing we need to learn here is for ourselves, for our religion, that like what happened to everyone, you said that the original books, and then people maybe deviated, drifted from those original teaching. In reality, it's the same thing happened for Muslims. Now we largely drifted from the original teaching. The drifting or the violation is not obvious because we are not like worshiping idols, or we did not stop praying, and but it's serious and severe and significant. Probably the biggest reason for this is that religion, especially Islam, if we stop the ijtihad, if we don't keep it evolving, if it freezes, it opens the door for drifting and from the original teaching. It's exactly the opposite of the way, unfortunately, some of our ancestors thought. Some of our ancestors thought by freezing it, we can preserve it. It's exactly the opposite. When you freeze it, you open the door for those. So it's the best way to keep it is to keep it evolving. It's always becomes a living document, something that is always new interpretations and the new contextualizations of the Quran, etc. And that's what has to be revived. And that's the best way to pass on Islam from one generation to another, the best way for da'wah, the best way for preserving the original teaching is ijtihad and keeping things evolving, and don't this Salafi trend that dominated very early on. By the way, Salafi doesn't mean this new thing. Salafi, it's very early on. The Salafi trend, totally, it killed two things that are essential for Islam: the mind and the spirit. Al-aql wal-ruh. So we ended up with very dry religion and very frozen. And it's why? Because this wave of Salafism that was started very early on, it is a movement clearly against using the mind. And they say it clearly. I mean, it's just rely on the text as is and don't even use your brain. And then they fought the Sufi trend, so they eliminated spirituality from religion. What is left in religion if you remove spirituality and you remove you stop the brain from working, or the intellect, and you add to that sense of mission was gone or was twisted to become something else, so that become judges of others and imposing Islam and reviving Khilafah and all of this nonsense. That's the mission. So either it was abandoned or it was replaced by something that is nonsense. And add to that the lack of emphasis on manners, akhlaq, which is at the heart of our religion. To the extent now you see someone who might be very practicing and looks very religious, but the way they deal with people, their character and their manners and etc. might be terrible. And subhanallah, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's an amazing hadith when he said, إِذَا جَاءَكُمْ مَنْ تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ وَخُلُقَهُ فَزَوِّجُوهُ. If someone asks for your daughter, if he is with good religion and good manners. So Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling us that religious person not automatically has good character, and we have seen it. We see it nowadays. There is hardly any connection. People may take bribes, people may be lying, but they don't miss prayer. It's a lot to learn, a lot to do, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised that those who try, الَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. If you start even with baby steps in the right direction, try to realize your role in this life. Try to realize what does it mean to be Muslim, what does it mean to be servant of Allah, what does it mean to be follower of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All of these are big titles, honors, things that you have to honor, and embark on that journey of studying the Quran and getting to know Allah and rediscovering the original Islam. That's on one track. On the other track, working on yourself to be really exemplary wherever you are. Wherever you are, you remember that you don't represent yourself, but that people are gonna make their impression about your religion and about Allah and about your community from your behavior. Working on yourself and then working on your environment so that you can reach a point when you stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you'll be able to say, Wallahi, and I gave it all. I did not spare any effort. That's I reached my limits. But to find someone who wastes, I don't know how many hours a day, until now, you have Muslims who waste a lot of time every day, either on TV, some, or social media in a futile way, a very useless way, or in vain talk, laghu. That's not appropriate. Whoever realized the big mission that we were assigned knows that there is no time to waste. Well, you have a big job and you have limited time to fulfill it.
If nobody has any other question, Jazakallah khair, Dr. Suhail, and inshallah we see you next Sunday.
Inshallah.
Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakumullah khair. Thank you.